Okay. Well, folks, this, I believe, is a truly underappreciated gem. I really like this movie. I don't just like this movie, I love this movie. It's a great family picture, in my opinion, a great family film, full of a lot of heart and adventure, and a great villain, and a spectacular acting job from the lead, the late Robin Williams. Today's celebration appreciation is none other. Oh, and not to mention these is none other than, I'll get into that later, is Hook! Steven Spielberg directed. So that's Robin Williams, Julia Roberts as Tinkerbell, Dustin Hoffman as Captain James Hook, with Bob Hoskins as Smee, Mr. Smee, and what's his face? What's the name? Who was the voice of Zuko? That's who plays Rufio. It's a great cast. I love it how long the movie is. It starts off, the premise of this movie, for those of you who don't know, is the idea, ask the question, what if Peter Pan grew up? And that's the idea behind this movie. And he grows up to be a bitter businessman and breaks his promises to his kids, his son Jack, and his daughter Maggie. And Captain Hook's nowhere to be seen for a while, right? Even though Dustin Hoffman gets top billing. Dustin Hoffman is probably why. And over the course of time, his name is Peter Banning in there. But in truth, he is Peter Pan. He's just forgotten. And the line I put in here was from Wendy. Wendy Moira, Angela Darling. One second. And the quote I put in there is directly from her character, right to Peter Pan. There's a scene where Peter talks about a big business deal, and all his kids want to do is play with him. Now, granted, they shouldn't be bothering their pop while he's working, but he's working all the time. So that's where the kids have the right to be a little rambunctious. And as a result, he just flips out. He loses his lid, yells at the poor kiddies, and they're sorry. They're kids. Like the little kids, like little 5, 6-year-olds, maybe 10. And, in that scene, I thought it was her, the one who plays Granny Wendy, because Wendy in this is older. Wendy has aged while Peter has not. Well, he has, but it's because he left Neverland. And she says to Peter, "Peter, you've become a pirate," after he yelled at his kids. And after that, Peter talks with his wife. Moira. Yeah, Moira. That's his wife's name. And like I said, so Wendy's played by Maggie Smith. And it's a great job. It's a fantastic role. And, he has a moment with himself, drinks some alcohol, and then all of a sudden, boom, comes in Tinkerbell, Julia Roberts Tinkerbell, to tell him that they need him back. Oh, wait, no, I skipped. His kids, after that incident, were kidnapped. They were kidnapped, and a note was left by James Hook. So Hook kidnapped his children because he demands Peter Pan come back to Neverland and face off for the revenge, the duel of the century. And then Tinkerbell comes in, Julia Roberts. Some hilarious comedy ensues about clapping for fairies and whatnot. And then she has to take Peter back to Neverland. And they fly. I forget the phrase. It's like the farthest star on the right. They must fall straight on to morning. And so that's the kind of the premise going on here. And Dustin Hoffman, in an almost unrecognizable role as the nefarious Captain Hook, was just fucking splendid in this movie. A dastardly villain. Surprisingly, a lot of dimensions you'd think for the dastardly, right? He adds like a little bit of humor there, some real contemplation here, even though it's all wicked. And Robin Williams' performance as Peter Pan goes because Robin Williams can evoke the inner child in us all, right? He can do that. He can emulate that. So he was a great choice for Peter Pan, who has that kid spirit. But Robin Williams is also an excellent actor who can also incorporate drama and real moments. So that comes across in his character in this movie. And overall, this movie is really, in my opinion, a grand adventure. A grand adventure. I am aware that it has faced criticisms for like Julia Roberts' casting, I believe was one of them, the set pieces, and whatnot. Even Spielberg himself has a problem with the film at some points. But there's a real beating heart to this movie that a lot of movies I feel lack, right? Some would call it the cheesy beating heart. Now, granted, there are cheesy beating hearts that just don't quite don't land, right? there are beating hearts that you just feel like, that's real corny, real cheesy. Not, in my opinion, Hook, though, hits the same notes, you could say, on some of those points. Because of the intricacies, the nuances, the directing, not the directing, more like the acting. I feel Hooks, as it were, where they would say sentimental points actually land. I feel they actually feel good if you want to feel them, right? Anybody who's like kind of closed off or something like that is probably not going to enjoy this movie, right? They'll be looking at the technicals, the everything that doesn't require you to feel, right? Cinematography doesn't require you to feel. Editing doesn't require you to feel. It just requires you to look with an eye. It just requires your eyeballs for that stuff. To feel, to be moved, requires a bit of vulnerability, a little bit to open up, which all kids in the beginning are vulnerable. And they are open up, and they are like cute sponges, not like the Rosencrantz sponge who's just an asshole, but the real sponges who want to take in things. And I think Hook is a great movie to take in, because I think another good lesson for children is death. To embrace it and be aware of it early, and this is just my opinion, so that way they won't feel traumatized if it should ever happen. Because death is imminent. It's going to happen. Someone you know is going to die at some point, and the sooner you embrace that, the better. And in Hook, a character dies. A good character. A sweet character. And kind of rambunctious, but a good character nonetheless. I won't spoil it, but yes, a character is killed in this by Captain Hook himself. So character deaths, that gets a prop right there. And yes, this is a family movie. Chia says, I feel like a lot of scenes in this movie are filmed kind of like watching a play, but it works so well. That's a good point. I never thought about that. Yeah, they do kind of look like they're very stage-oriented and whatnot. And what's great about the stage? Acting, right? Stages don't usually use extravagant sets. Some do. But it's the acting we come for. And this thing does have good acting. All right? I don't care what they say about Julia Roberts' Tinkerbell. I liked her. She was funny. And so, and it's a nice long movie. I'm a fan of long movies. This movie's like 2 hours and 20 minutes, including the credits. And I'm always a fan of long movies. It's definitely a drama. Nice take on the crocodile, that Hook actually defeated the crocodile. Sort of. Wink, wink. And, Chia, yeah, the sets are stationary, but the acting makes it really stand out and seem like more. Yeah. And so let me see what kind of joy. So this thing really like embraces the kid in you, right? Even as an adult, you don't have to abandon your child self. Just you have more responsibilities as an adult, and those you pass on to the children. But never say it's bad to be a kid, because if you ever think it's bad to be a kid, every child in the world can feel that. Every child in the world is thinking, what? It's bad to be me? Come on! So this embraces the child in you. In Peter Pan, in his kids, his sweet daughter, Maggie, his awesome son, Jack. He's also sweet, too. And actually, Maggie's quite awesome as well. So they're both awesome and sweet, both the kids that he's trying to save. He did raise some fine kids. Just, he was starting to fail as a father. And, Hook's going to take advantage of that shit. Again, if you didn't know Dustin Hoffman was in the movie, I bet it'll be very hard for you to tell that was him as Hook. He does an accent. He doesn't really look like it because he wears the wig and the hat and the outfit for so long. And, there's also an extremely young Gwyneth Paltrow in this movie. She does a cameo. I believe that's because, Spielberg's her godfather, I think, in real life. Don't quote me on that, but that might be true. So that's why she got a cameo role in this. Really young. She might have been teens when this movie came out. This movie came out in 1991. And let me see here. What else do I like about this movie? Well, I like the action scene. The final action scene was one of the when I was a kid. It was one of the first final battles I ever saw. I thought it was epic as heck. I mean, you look back on big final battles, right? There weren't very many of them, right? So when this movie came out, it was probably pretty original for its time. And this also rekindled a big love of pirates at its time. While the movie was not critically praised, the marketing department, as far as toys were concerned, pirate stuff was all the rage. I think this made a stir in the pirate world, maybe even more than Pirates of the Caribbean, because I remember, maybe, again, don't quote me, I remember when this movie came out, that Ah, Toodles and his marbles. Yes, that's a nice element. Toodles in this is an old man. Toodles was one of the lost boys. But in this, he's an old man who came because he grew up. And that's a great thing about remembering the kid part of you, your happy thoughts. For him, it was his marbles, right? No, that was a real sweet moment. Nice little bookend right there. Again, there's so many, as I would say, well-deserved magical moments in Hook. And it's funny it's called Hook. And again, I swear it's because of Dustin Hoffman. Anyway, back on the toy lines and whatnot when this movie came out. So, for anyone who's around at that time, this thing came out and there was a shitload of real awesome Legos. Pirate ship Legos. You remember? Does anyone remember those? Here's the big brown one. The skeletons on the islands. Yes, look. I found my marbles. And, yeah, so there was a lot of them. And the Legos make some real awesome shit, too, so... I don't remember the pirate Legos, like the pirate ships and whatnot, coming back into the fold when Pirates of the Caribbean came out. Now, I must bring this up. I do like Pirates of the Caribbean, but we're not here to talk about Pirates of the Caribbean. We're here to talk about Hook. And the impact that Hook had, at least on merchandising, as far as I know, back in the time. Hook did it. So, while Hook was not a critical success, it was certainly a box office success, and in my opinion, a success of a family movie. That is, like I said, again, I'm saying it again, a grand adventure, full of heart, and embraces the kid in you. Embraces the child. Come on, look at me. I'm like a big kid. Dear God. Oh. Got some hair in my mouth or some shit like that. Ugh. Chia God says, I don't recall the Legos. Feel like I missed the boat on that one. That's okay. Oh, but there were some good Legos. There were some good ones. So, this has always been one of my favorites as far as family movies go. It's hard for me to pick a better one. Probably some of the Pixar's if I really think about it. But I'm not going to say any of them right here because, of course, I could save them for another Celebration Appreciation. So, Hook, one of my favorite live-action family movies. With great performances, very good story, very fun, very heartwarming. Thank you. Give it up for Hook. Hook, Hook, where's the hook? Hook, Hook, where's the hook? Anyone remember that? Dun, 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 do, 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 do. I hate Peter Pan. Thank you, Hook. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hook! Where's the hook?